Hi, welcome everybody. For those that don't know me, my name is Connie Rivera, and I am here to inspire you to create a future that you can really live into, a financial future that you can live into. So today I have a very super special guest. I'm super excited. First of all, it feels so good to be back. Like, listen, this is what I love to do. I love to just connect with people and create with them and just see just create, right? And then if we can also teach each other what are different things that we can do to live this life as best as we can, that's what's important to me. So I'm back. I'm back. Let's go. It's been a minute. So I'm super excited to be here. Let's create a financial future that we can live into, right? So today I have a phenomenal person today. She went from corporate to entrepreneur, became a mom, became a wife. She has gone through adversity like nobody's business. She has gone through and come all the way through, right? She's a beautiful mother of four beautiful children, and she is the founder of the Wealthy Peach Financial Organization. Today I have Monique Welch. Monique, welcome.
Thanks. Hey, Connie, look, all those accolades. I was over here like my cheeks are gonna hurt.
I'm so excited, Monique. Like I, I have to say, from the moment I met you, I was just absolutely beside myself. Like your spirit is just so contagious. You have just such a beautiful outlook in life, and I wanted to make sure that we stay connected. And I'm just so proud of you in the business that you've built in the last couple of years. So I'm just so excited to hear and share more of your story.
Listen, I am honored. I don't take that lightly coming from you because you yourself have a ton under your resume, a wealth of knowledge and information. And when we first met, I will be honest, I don't connect with people immediately. We connected immediately. Like I knew this was going to be more than just um business, right? I consider you a friend. I know that your heart is true, your integrity, your spirit, it all just it's a beautiful thing. So
Oh,
I'm excited.
thank you. So tell me about Wealthy Peach Financial. What is the goal? What are you creating with Wealthy Peach Financial, and how do you serve the community?
Absolutely. So I am always very big on saying I want to make sure that Wall Street comes to Main Street. I think a lot of times there it seems like the talk of finance and legacy and wealth is a foreign language because it's not necessarily taught properly or frequently or as often as it should be in the places that it should be. Um, and so I want to take these big concepts that are often miscommunicated, misunderstood, and make them simple and practical. I think that wealth and legacy is a luxury that everybody should be able to afford. And if they know better, they do better. Um, so that's the purpose to take the world of finance and bring it to everyone so that it's suitable and it fits their need.
Thank you so much. What inspired you to start it? I understand that there's like a legacy conversation. There is a lot of different and you, because you were in corporate America for a long time. Like I understand that your profession is in human resource.
Yes.
So
So
you.
it's funny. It tied in, and I suppose as I'm thinking about it, right? You know how you have a higher calling and a purpose, and you've got to be passionate about what you do. Even in corporate, I was like, hey, if I have to be pushing paper, right, to make a check, if I have to work in an organization, I want to work with people, right? I want to work with people. I used to say if they were better appreciated and better compensated, I probably would have been a school counselor because I have always liked to sit down with people and just understand who they are and what they've been through, to help them be the best of them, right? Um, and so even in corporate and human resources, I was that person that was like, hey, come to me so that I can give you a great opportunity and be the supportive individual for the organization, but really the people first, right? The organization cut my check, but even in corporate, I was working for people opposed to company. Um, and so I think my husband saw that in me because he initially was the entrepreneur and the business owner, right? I was telling you this, I was the supportive spouse, right? Just kind of lending my services to his business, so to speak. I was like, okay, I do this for corporate America, right? I do time management and organization and consulting on how to better efficiently build your business. Um, and we were going through, or he was going through a rough patch in business. And so I was like, okay, let me just take a look at what you're doing in this world of finance and insurance and see how I can help. Like, no, I don't want to be involved. No, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to give you some pointers like I do at work. Um, and I was, of course, in the rooms listening, learning, watching, and didn't realize that I was catching the bug, right? Because it fell right in line with my just innate passion and desire to see people do better, and put them in a position where they can grow and flourish and provide for their family, right? Same thing I was doing in corporate, just didn't realize it. And oftentimes in my corporate seat, I felt like my hands were tied because there was only so much that I was in control of and I could do, right? I can only
Yeah.
say so much to this person. I can only give them so much feedback. They don't work for our company. They just interview. So I can't necessarily tell her, hey girl, next time don't wear that, don't do that. And um, when it came to finance and insurance, the business that I thought I was just, giving tips to,
Mhm.
it turned out, hey, now this seems like a real viable opportunity to educate people on something that they don't know, but that is very necessary, no matter what they do for a living. And it's going to be the most impactful and life changing. I
Mm.
didn't realize it at the time, but I was like, oh, it just makes sense, right? Initially, my husband was like, hey, you should join me in business. And I was like, no, I've got a job. Um, but the more I sat in it, I was like, he is right. I should join him in business. Like he's teaching people about legacy and growth and building and protecting their family. Like we need to do this as a family. This is our legacy. This is our growth. This is us building. And I have a very huge belief that we are blessed to, right? So if I know something, I have an understanding of it, I find myself compelled to now teach something and give somebody else that same understanding.
Yeah.
That was
I,
it. It was birthed out of the desire to make sure I didn't hoard information that I had. And I didn't watch people struggling when I knew I had a solution or at least some advice, even if they didn't listen.
hmm, I love that. I love that. And I'm curious, um so you're in financial services with Wealthy Peach,
I am.
and you mentioned that you helped your husband with cases and things of that sort. Tell me about your most memorable financial case that you made a difference in the family.
Oh, goodness. I will tell you truly, my most memorable one is probably because it hit so close to home. And it was probably a defining factor in me saying, oh, I could absolutely do this, right? Um, my first annuity client in business, like not that my husband did, but that I did myself, was my mother.
Mm.
And my husband had been in real estate for over 25 years. When I finally joined him in business, he had been in finance and insurance for, multiple years. And I was just, talking kind of to family and friends, sharing some things that I had heard, but I wasn't the expert. So I'm like, I can't talk to you about it, but if you got XYZ going on, did you know? Right? Um, and my mother had actually, when she was younger, she did what most people do. Um, she thought, of course, that she was doing the right thing. And at the time, I thank her for having the foresight to do anything at all. She had bought this term policy, right? And she was younger. I think it was like a 30-year term policy or something like that. But she had gotten to the point where her policy was getting ready to expire because they don't really talk about that, right, when they sell it. And she got this letter that said her monthly premium, if she wanted to keep it, was going to be like some absurd astronomical number that it's like she can't afford that. And she was like, "Hey, I just need you to read over this and explain what this is. Like, does this mean they're gonna start charging me this?" Like, I think her policy was going from like $50 to $500 a month. Something ridiculous, because if you don't have an understanding of why you're getting a certain product or what that product will do in the future, or nobody's kind of meeting with you and reassessing your needs throughout life. um Oftentimes what was a good thing is not still the thing that's needed, or especially if you don't have an understanding of it. So we kind of read through it and I was like, how does that work? Right. I had gotten a license because remember I was supporting my husband but not really involved. So I had the ability to learn these things and talk to them because I was licensed to do so. And I'm like, this is my mom. She'll give me grace, right? She'll give me grace. Like, hey, I don't really know this yet, but let's learn together. Um, so we were able to figure out what went wrong and what to properly put her in. And she had some money in a old 401k that she was no longer contributing to, but she was losing money. And she was just like, this is my retirement plan. Like everything's falling apart. Um, for her, I was able to say, hey, I know that these aren't things that were necessarily taught to you, but now that I have an understanding, and because I really do have your best interest at heart, I want to make sure we take care of you wholly, completely, and make sure that you aren't giving up your legacy and your retirement and you're in a good space. So I think that was kind of the pivotal catapult of, man, my mom has done everything that she thought she was supposed to do and ended up in a place that wasn't comfortable or not where she thought she would be at this age in her life. Um, and it's not because she didn't try, it's not because she like threw the money away, it's because she just wasn't properly educated. Like, how many more people are out there that aren't properly educated, that don't know that if we showed them this up front, they would be in a better place. Like it's not unobtainable. Like had had my mom put in place some things that I now teach my clients to put in place, or that I've put in place for my children, I'm like, shoot, like I could be a millionaire right now. But who knew? There are families out here that know, but certain communities haven't necessarily gotten that education. And so I was like, okay, I can't just change this for my mom every time I speak with a client, I treat them as if they were my mom. Like, what would I have wanted somebody to teach her, tell her, do for her? So, that part.
That is so beautiful. You were able to help your mom with her annuity and create legacy and to stop the product that she was in from depleting pretty
Yeah.
much because it
Yeah.
was depleting itself. It wasn't being managed properly. Wow,
Listen,
that
I always say to clients who have old 401ks at companies that they're no longer at, I'm like, that's like leaving money in an ex-boyfriend's account.
ooh,
Like, they still have access, you don't have access, and you want them to benefit? I thought you left for a reason. Like,
ooh.
I know, right?
Say it again for the people in the back. Say it again.
Listen, that's like leaving your money in your ex's account. And we know they're exes for a reason. They still get to move it around, make money off of it, charge you fees. You have no access. You've probably forgotten about it. Why do that? Why do that? So,
So having a 401k at an old company is like leaving your money in your ex's bank account
think about that.
and you have no access, but you know it's there.
No access, but it's there,
But and he's doing whatever he wants with it.
just eating away at
Your money. I'm good.
it.
Thank you for the visualization.
Listen, right now people are thinking about exes like, oh no. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. That's one thing
No.
that I do talk about. I do talk about when I'm talking about different insurance products. One thing I say it's like do your annual review. Check your finances and every year with your insurance policies, your beneficiaries, life changes, right? And I also explain it's like, do you want to pass away and have your ex as your beneficiary? That's an easy fix. It will take
Right.
all of 5 minutes. And if you're not doing that annual check-in with your policies, and we do those for free as financial professionals, you do financial annual reviews for their annuity products, for their IUL products, for their insurance products. Like you do an overall review. I do as well. And it's like
Absolutely.
checking absolutely everything. So yeah, and that visual will forever stay in my head because I have a TikTok where I'm like, when was the last time you checked your insurance policy? And then I ended, I'm like, is you still your beneficiary? So it's like I have that on. It's like,
No.
so yeah, that was a visual for me.
Good.
Yeah, thank you. Um, you mentioned you did a lot of work with your husband. What has been something in your life that has been just transformative or pivotal that just changed you?
Oh goodness. So I mentioned I do a lot of work with my husband. Of course, if you are familiar with my story or you know about me, you know my husband passed away 2 years ago now,
Mm.
right? September 2022.
Um,
And it's just so happened
Celebrated
that
2 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, a month later, I gave birth to our fourth child, right? So I'm a mother of four beautiful children, but I now have a toddler. We were done. Now, um, so I always talk about personal brand, right? To our agents that we train, I'm always like, hey, more than just the companies that you represent or the clients that you service, even outside of business, across the board, what is your personal brand, right? What is your personal truth, your motto, your mantra? What do you hold true to? Um, and so it's funny, right? Because I am typically the person that shies away from compliments. And we've talked. I have the hardest time. Like it's like, Monique, tell me something good about yourself. And I'm like, oh, let's talk about somebody else. Um, I've learned that I am resilient, right? And I am determined to overcome challenges and obstacles and come out of it better than I was before I got there. I think that, right, and we're always like, good things happen to good people, and why me? Um, there is nothing that happens to you that hasn't happened to someone else, right? And at some point, everybody gets knocked down and they have things happen to them. But the way that you respond is what shows who you really are, right? There's a quote, I can't even remember who it's by, so we'll say anonymous and we'll look it up later. But there is a quote that man is introduced to himself in times of adversity.
Mm.
So, um, I have learned how to balance, and I don't even know if that's a fair word. I don't think there's truly a way to balance, right? Everything out. I've learned
Mm.
how to juggle with poise. How to be a mom of four. Um,
What are their ages?
so 16, and it's funny, she will be, thanks for the reminder, she'll be 17 in a matter of days, right?
Oh,
She'll be
wow.
she'll be 17 in what, 5 days? I am blessed though, because she got a lot of her personality and character from my husband. So she's grounded. She's not your typical teenager where you gotta threaten them. She is second mom, right, in the house. She's a real help. 11, 10, and the smallest one just turned 2 last month. So 16, 11, 10, 2. Um, I've learned how to utilize, and this is funny, utilize the things that I have from being a coach and a mentor and being in a corporate setting with emotional IQ and things of that nature, and just honestly, innately being an empath, which is sometimes a blessing and a curse. I've learned how to be a counselor of sorts for 4 children who have, some grief and things that they deal with on a regular. I've learned how to still function and operate, but more importantly, I have become an empathetic, right? An empathetic agent. So it's not just about educating individuals to make a commission, right? And it never was, right? Because we take a short in consideration to make sure the right thing was done by the client. And it was
Absolutely.
none of the client's business to know that, right? Um, but now it is making sure that the proper tools are in place because I know, right, what it feels like to be able to um, have the space and the luxury, because it is a luxury, to be able to grieve, right? To be able to process, to not have a financial hardship when you're having a spiritual, emotional, mental hardship because of what life is throwing at you. Um, that has fed even more so into the purpose and the passion. to be able to make sure individuals know, and it's intentional, and it's not just, I don't want um, the products that are put in place for your legacy and your well-being and the protection of your family to feel like a bill, right? You need to know that they're a blessing, and you need to know that it's a purpose behind it. And it's not just about leaving, enough, but it's about kind of writing your last longing love letter to your loved ones. Like, I loved you enough to think about you and put this in place before there was even a need to, because there's always a need to. But yeah, that was a lot, wasn't
That was so beautiful.
it?
Thank you for sharing that. I know that that was just so intimate and just like, I really appreciate you, Monique. Thank you.
For sure.
With everything that you've gone through, what would you say to other couples or families? Some learnings or some takeaways of what you've experienced, because you experienced, we don't want anyone to go through that, right? We we plan for the best in a situation like this with the products that we present, right? So we have a promise when we're here, we're promised to be here, we're promised to pay taxes, and we're promised that, there's a rainbow to cross, right? So what is, and we prepare families for that space financially. What would you recommend for families that don't have any products or anything in place, or have only for work, they only have their work insurance or things like that? What would you say, or what would you recommend to those different families?
Oh, goodness. A ton of stuff. How much time we, no. To me, how
Yeah,
much time
we have
we
all the
here?
time. I want you to just share, like, you've
Um,
gone through it. I mean, when I stop and I think about how your husband passed and you were pregnant, like you had the baby shower, your husband passed after the baby shower, and then you had this baby, and then you're a mother of three, now you're a mother of four, and you're a single mother of four. Not without family support. Your family was there, you had friends and family there, but they can only be there to a certain point emotionally. Like, like I can't even begin to imagine what all the nights that you went through. Um, Having gone through what we try to help people deal with, what would you say?
oh goodness, you should have said, make sure there's some tissue next to your
Ah,
computer. Look, I'm over here trying to keep it together so I don't mess up my chocolate face. Man, so I always knew the importance of what we do as life insurance agents to educate people on proper protection. Um, it's funny, my husband used to say, to make it rain from heaven.
mm,
Um, but of course, and I tell my daughter this, people never truly get the impact of something until they go through it themselves. Hmm. There are a ton of reasons, right, to make sure you have proper protection, and things like your will and trust and all of that set up properly. It's funny because my husband would challenge men, of course, more than me, because I'm like, let me take a step back and sometimes men are not necessarily receptive to females telling them that they've made the wrong decision or giving them advice in certain areas. And so I'm always very cautious about how I represent or present information because, you get more flies with honey. And, a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, but also proper delivery makes sure that the message is not immediately returned to sender so it can be heard. And so I have, in my time as a life insurance agent, sat down with some males and heard them say, like, my kids are grown. I'm not leaving them anything. Right. And I'm like, okay, sir, but what about like your wife? And um, it's so funny because oftentimes people don't want to talk about life insurance. It's like one of those taboos and it's like seems morbid. But then when somebody passes away, it's the first thing that they look for. And sometimes I'll get a call and it's like, hey, did so and so have life insurance? I remember you all were supposed to sit down and have a conversation. And I've had to tell two or a few people, we had a conversation. However, at the time, they decided not to do it. So if there is a policy, I don't know about it. I hate those conversations because I understand the hardship, especially now that the family now has to face. Like, what are they going to do to sustain, one, the loss of you and the absence that your presence leaves? That in and of itself is a ton, right? Just to deal with that. But then the actual physical, financial support that your absence now brings, right? And my husband and I were in business together. So it's funny, we kind of did what we tell everybody not to do. All of our eggs were in the same basket. And just realizing what a big, grand presence he was, not just in our lives, but in our business, was huge. And so it's working more. It's becoming two people instead of one. Oftentimes when we talk to people about life insurance, one of their first, you kind of said it, one of their first responses is, I've got life insurance through work. And my question is always, do you plan on dying at work? Do you plan on staying there long enough to need it? Because most people, even if they don't pass away at work, most people stay at a job maybe 2-3 years. Like that's longevity now. Our grandparents used to stay somewhere forever. Like it's like they've been there for 20 years, right? They would never leave. But now we're like, oh, you're paying more and there's a better opportunity. And okay, I'm switching jobs. That life insurance doesn't go with you. So that's one. But also, that life insurance, mind you, you're speaking to somebody from human resources. It's typically a year and a half, maybe 2 years at best, your salary. And if you think about it, your current salary probably is a stretch and a struggle to provide now. So is that enough for your spouse, your family to be able to sustain once you're not there to work the extra hours to get the overtime pay or the the second, third, and the side hustle to like, and that's the other part of it. Another huge thing is stay-at-home parents. Most people overlook the fact that a stay-at-home parent, and I say a stay-at-home parent because I know that that can very well be male or female, right? It could be dad or mom.
Mhm.
Um, they probably have the salary of 7 individuals, or at least they're keeping your household from having to take care of the salary of 7 different individuals, right? When people are like, hey, my wife or my husband stay at home, they don't need life insurance. I've got life insurance for us. I'm like, that's great if something happens to you. However, if something happens to them, can you still work your schedule, right? So that you can make that salary that you're bringing in? Can your household responsibilities and tasks be sustained without them doing it? Like, listen, I have always given kudos to anybody that stays at home because there were times where Richard and I would switch off. And now I'm just completely, I get to work as an entrepreneur, but that's a totally different story. That was another reason, right? One of those check boxes as to why would you start a business? Um, you're talking, if you no longer have that person inside of the house, who's cooking the food? So
Mhm.
how much does a personal chef cost, or how much is eating out cost? You're talking who's the maid or the housekeeper. It's a nicer way to say it, right? Who's doing the cleaning of the laundry and folding that and making sure that everything is tidy around there? Who's the chauffeur? Right? Who's driving the kids back and forth to stuff and making sure that that's going on? Like, who's the caregiver, right? Who's daycare and after school, and all of that is an amount of money that needs to be put back into the house to make sure that it functions and runs like it's supposed to, because grieving is a luxury that most people don't have because they don't have the finances to do so. And I don't want that to be the case. Like, if you are grieving, if you have a meltdown, if you got to go through, then the last thing that I want you to have to worry about is money while you do it. Like, money can't buy you love. It can't buy you happiness, but it can provide some peace. So that all of that is what I would say.
Create the peace. Husbands create that space where you're protecting your wives by protecting yourself. Wives create that space where you're protecting your husbands, where you're protecting yourselves and protecting your children. And then also here and there a legacy piece as well. Create that where everything is taken care of. And I also heard like the life insurance creates the luxury to be able to mourn in peace.
That
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 policy.
part. It's funny. My husband used to say, and he would say this while he was talking to men about life insurance. He would say, guys, listen, I am protective of my wife. And when I am gone, I'm not saying that she cannot get remarried. But what I am saying is, I want her to be in a financially secure space to where she can be selective about who she chooses. And she doesn't have to get with somebody for money's sake. That part.
Yeah, that part right there. Monique, thank you so much for sharing your experience, your business. Um, I feel so honored to have you as my first person to come back as I'm coming back and just creating the conversation of what it looks like to protect yourself and protect your family and create that. I invite you to share your social media. I'll make sure. Where can people reach you? Um, how can people get in touch with you so that they can share their story, right? Or they can ask you to help them with their life policies or what are the next steps?
Absolutely. So, my website, wealthypeachfinancial.org. You can always go there and connect. There is, of course, some more information about my backstory, because I felt like I should use my experiences, right? Use my pain for purpose. No, to be able to connect, and help others out. On IG, I am Miss Wealthy Peach. So you get to connect with me on not just business, because I do still talk about business there. I think it intersects and intertwines into our lives is finance. And one of the reasons that we don't do better is because we don't know better. And one of the reasons we don't know better is because we've always been taught that talking about finance is taboo. It should never be. So you get to see my engagement as a mother, just regularly living with integrity and purpose and passion and teaching my children the things that I wish I had known when it comes to finance and budgeting and all that jazz. Um, so those are the best two places, but I am always looking to connect, right? To be a voice of just understanding, if nothing else.
Thank you. Last question. Last
Okay.
question. What are three things that you would tell the next person that's interested in starting their business and they don't even know what are three things you tell them?
Oh, goodness. The very first thing that I would say, is find what you're passionate about. And some people are like, I just don't know what my passion or my purpose is. I heard a pastor say this once and it stuck with me like till now. I'll probably always have it in the back of my head. Find the thing that hurts your heart, right? The thing that pulls at your heartstrings, that as soon as you hear about it, see about it, something in you goes off to say something needs to be done about that. Like there should be a solution for that. Whatever that problem is, if you can see it and focus on it and hone in on it, you are probably the person that's supposed to solve it. So, um, find the find the problem, become the solution. Find the thing that you are passionate about that you can hitch your efforts, your ideas, your thoughts behind, because that'll keep you going even when things come up that are challenging. You'll always have the reason why, right? There's got to be a why. Start with why. That's the book. Um, Make sure that you write the vision, make it plain. So don't just go at it haphazardly. Once there is a vision and you write it out, start to structure, organize, and put intention behind it. I think a lot of times people give up or never follow through because they are just throwing spaghetti at the board and hoping something sticks, opposed to actually following an orchestrated plan. Not that things won't come up, not that there won't be wrenches thrown into the plan, but if you know the ultimate goal, you are always able to pivot because you know where you're headed and you've got some direction. How many did I give you?
2.
You let me go. How many did I give you?
Write the vision. Give me one more.
Okay. Listen to yourself.
That's beautiful.
I say that because there will be tons of voices, and opinions and distractions. If you are always able to find the quiet, which means take a step back, and a lot of things are focusing on self-care now. But I think that's really just to say people are realizing with everything that's going on in the world around us, all of the things that are out there that could very well distract us, that could get us off course, that may seem important in certain lights. Make sure that you hold true to yourself, to your integrity, to your purpose, to your passions, to your belief. Make sure that no voice is louder than your own so that you can keep your self-worth, your value, your spirit of who you are intact.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure having you here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Listen, you made me cry. I don't do it often now. That's part of listening to myself. I know that I'm a big crybaby, and not just for myself, for others. So I'm learning to own it.
Thank you. I just want to finish off in saying my heart is full of gratitude with your friendship and having gotten to know you more. I'm very clear that you are an amazing, empathetic, passionate, vision-filled. I want to say visionary, but it's more than that. It's deeper. You're vision-filled and executor as well. And with everything that I've known from you in the last 2 years, I'm clear that you're an absolute overcomer. And inside of all of that, I'm clear that you are absolutely relentless when it comes to making sure that your family and your clients are taken care of. If my mom didn't have all her policies, I would make sure if she didn't have all her policies, I would be honored if you would do her policies. I would trust you with my mother's policies.
That says a lot. That's what I'm hoping for.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was such a pleasure. I am honored to especially be the first coming off of what I know has been a purposeful and intentful hiatus for you. Like I said, I don't connect on a deeply profound. I don't have a problem connecting with folks. But on a deeply profound, intimate level, I don't do that often. I am very particular about my space and my energy. And this has been a blessing and a godsend. I know that for sure. So I appreciate you.
Okay.